first time.
All right, we're going to call our meeting to order. It's April 16, 2019, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. Our first item is to review and approve minutes. We do have two sets of minutes in front of us, June and July of 2018, and we all haven't gotten through them yet, so we will postpone that till our next meeting. Our second item is to sign bills.
No bills.
No bills tonight? Okay, we don't have any bills. And our third item is into our meetings and hearings. And our first one's an RDA, Bob.
Yep.
Okay, we have a notice of meeting. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Durga Bodanga, 196 Oak Street, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for a determination of applicability for the removal of trees at 196 Oak Street. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Do we have someone tonight? Is that you? Can you come and just sit at the desk on the front? Yeah. And just introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Durga Bodingi. I live at 196 Oak Street.
Yeah.
Okay, and can you describe a little bit how many
Yeah.
trees and?
Yeah, so
Reasons?
there's a brook goes through my land.
Yep.
And last month the storm, right, wind came, like there's so many branches fell into this brook. So I went outside, out of the town. I came back after 3 days when I see that so many branches are in the brook. So I spent almost 4 hours to took out those branches. And there are two small trees also broken completely, or just hanging there. And I called two different tree services to understand the code. They told me that that big tree is kind of a diseased tree because so many branches already hanging and some of them already broken. They said we had to take out that big tree, and there is two already broken. They're just hanging. So I need to take those, the small 2 trees and the big one, and then I'm going to plant additional trees.
How many trees again? How many did you say?
There are small, already broken in the
Yeah.
middle,
Yep.
hanging, and there is another one hanging, and the other one is a big one.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. It looks
Yeah, I
like
gave
they look like a cluster coming up.
Yeah, there's yeah.
So
all
do you count that as one, or do you count that as multiple ones?
No, the big one is a one. Other one is falling on each other. I want to prune those branches.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Are they in the wetlands?
Sorry.
Are they in the wetlands? As I saw a picture, I saw some old hay bales, I think. Are they beyond the hay bales in the wetlands?
This is the brook running water. There is no separate any wetlands.
So it's next to the brook?
Yeah, these are next to the brook.
So that's in the wetlands?
Okay. Yeah. So because it goes through my land.
Yeah.
but I think he said, if I heard you right, it's a partial removal on some of these? You
Yeah.
said trimming?
No,
some-
only just pruning and trimming. Broken the small trees, we had to take it out.
Yeah.
The deceased tree, we had to take it out. And the rest, whatever falling on each other, right, we need to just, trim those branches.
Martha, can
submitted,
you-
all
from
the
that, Can you
pictures,
tell
yeah.
what?
I do see hay bales, and it looks like they're on the other side of the hay, between the hay bales and the brook. So it is in the wetland. Do you know what kind of trees they are?
Honestly, I don't know. I moved October last year. I was living in Grace Avenue. I moved here.
Okay,
I don't know the name of the tree, honestly.
okay. It looks like they might be red maples, and it looks like one of them might have had barbed wire growing around it, so that's the big one. So that one,
Can you come up
Probably
here
does
and
need to
just
come down.
come up and show us on the pictures exactly what you're taking out of that cluster? So there's one cluster right there. Yep.
This is the one most of the branches are falling onto the whenever a little bit wind, maybe 20 miles per hour, those branches are falling into the stream. And,
So what are you gonna cut then on that? What
this
gets
one,
cut?
Yeah, this one, this is already kind of there.
are you cutting just this part, or are you cutting all of this?
Yeah, this one, as per the 2-3 service guys told me that they had to take this whole thing.
So the whole thing comes
Yeah,
down,
yeah, yeah.
not just,
Yeah, so whole
trimming.
thing, yeah, so because anyway, this is not like, healthy one,
Yeah.
it's already started like, well, like, fall anytime, big vein.
And are you leaving the stump there, or are they taking the stump?
This one, no, I think, because we don't want to keep anything on the side of the road, we have to take, like, you're talking about the stumps keeping there?
Yeah, I'm just asking
Yeah, no,
if you're,
we'll cut till here and we'll leave this place, this
Yeah,
one. And
okay.
I'm going to put some trees next to that. Already I have the small trees here, but I want to add additional trees,
so you're gonna be planting trees
Yeah,
there?
I'm
to-
going to.
okay. And that's one, so you have more?
Yeah, this is the together, this
Okay.
one too, and this one, see, this is already broken. This is a broken.
Yeah. So what are you cutting on that one now?
Yeah, so we want to take this out till here.
Okay.
Yeah,
So you
this one.
cut it off about here?
Yeah, here, because this is already broken
Yeah,
completely.
that's a,
And
that one.
this is another, this is another branch. It is like falling down. I want to cut this branch.
just that
Yeah,
branch?
that's branch. Yeah,
Okay.
this branch. And this one, if you see that, like, the small trees, like, hang on each other, I want to just, like, prune some of these, like, branches so that, trees will be healthy.
The only problem we'll have is to control how much the guy cuts when he comes in there. So if we had to mark it in advance, and, with a spray can, just doing a cross on what's gonna be removed, and maybe, engineering could take a swing by and see if that's accurate to what he presented tonight. Would you feel comfortable doing a negative with that?
I feel comfortable doing a negative based on his request.
Yeah,
right now.
but you're
I'm
gonna-
not comfortable with it, but I'm only one person.
But, I mean, I think at a minimum to mark it, because we've had a lot of problems with these.
Yeah.
Even when we've marked them, we've had problems.
Correct.
Does anybody have any comments?
I would think that leaving the stump in would,
Yeah.
Ken, would that help?
I just think that he's doing work in the wetlands. It's not like he's out of the wetlands, he's in the wetlands next to the brook, so I think he should do a notice of intent for the work in the wetlands.
Is he truly, is it dry land? I mean, is it maybe bank, it's top of bank, isn't it, Ken?
We don't know what it is because nobody's
Where
told
the-
us what it is. And
where
it looks
the-
like there's a hay bale line that
Yeah.
he's working on the other side, so I'm assuming that at a certain point, we must have approved something there, and it's on the other side of the hay bale line.
Yeah.
So the trees where they're grown, it's a dry land.
Okay.
So like almost like the trees from there, almost like 4 or 5 feet, that's where the brook goes.
Oh, right, it's there.
Well, it seems there's enough question here, so then why don't we put it off a month?
Take a look at the site.
Have someone from engineering take a look
Yeah,
at it,
that's a good idea. We'll continue
you know?
it. Yeah,
No?
okay.
Fine.
You see what, we will
It could be banked,
push
it
it off
could
for
be
one
out
more
in the
month.
wetland, could be.
Till the next hearing, somebody from the engineering group will come out and look and just, but in the interim, can you mark the trees that you want to take out? So when the representative shows up, he'll be able to assess, okay, what your
Some-
plan is.
Mark it some chalk.
With an
trees
X, with an orange spray can,
Yeah.
Or some orange tape around it.
or tape, yeah, if you wanna do that.
Yeah, even if they intimate, like when they are coming, I can be, available there also, I can, show them.
Yeah, typically, if you do the orange spray can, you do one low
Yeah.
near the stump and then one high, so when the tree cutter comes in, he always just leaves, we can always check, there's always one remaining.
Okay, yeah, we can do
Okay,
that.
so it's too many questions right now to.
Yeah, no,
approve
that's no
tonight.
problem, yeah, understand.
Okay, so we will continue this meeting until our next hearing, which is going to be, May what, do you have it's the third, it should be the third,
It's early, I think it's
Tuesday.
town meeting next,
Yeah, it's town meeting,
then we
May.
got it's bumped a day, or
Must be
it's bump a month, so.
early.
Jennifer's gonna. May 14th? May 14th is the next meeting, and we'll continue until then, okay?
Sure, John,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Let me see that file. Thank you.
have another notice of hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that the town of Shrewsbury, 100 Maple Ave, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a roadway, retaining wall, stormwater management components, and utilities at 384 to 386 South Street. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room.
Don't you want to open this? There's only one.
Yep, right over here.
Only one set of plans?
Yeah.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. My name is Michael Dryden. I'm the Senior Project Manager with Bowler Engineering. And as you read into the record, the applicant proponent for this project is the town of Shrewsbury. And I know that Mr. Truman has the history of this project. I'm not sure if the commission members have the full history of this project site that I'm about to walk you through, but just a very high-level overview before I get into the plan itself. The town of Shrewsbury purchased this 66 acres in the latter part of 2002. Shortly thereafter, established the Shrewsbury Development Corporation, and since that time has undertaken many I shouldn't say many, a couple of master planning exercises, and none of which were ever brought to fruition. So, also joining me this evening is Claire O'Neill of Mass Development, and the significance of Claire being here this evening from Mass Development is Mass Development is providing funding for this project to the town of Shrewsbury through their Site Readiness Grant Program. So, again, several master plans have been undertaken. I'm about to show you a third master plan. We're also before the planning board for this project. The project is also subject to a MEPA filing. We've been through the environmental notification form. We still have to do a draft and final environmental impact report. So allow me to walk you through existing conditions, and then I'll move into the master plan. So for orientation purposes, north is straight up the plan. This is Route 20, South Street in this location. And of course, that links, South Street eventually links Route 20 and Route 9 off the top of the page. Thomas Farm Circle, which is accessed through Cherry Street off to the west. As I mentioned, the site consists of 66, just north of 66 acres. It is located within the Flexible Development Overlay District. The underlying district would be office residential. And as you can clearly see, there are significant wetland resources on the site. There's a separate resource area to the north, which flows to the Blackstone watershed. The sizable wetland in the center of the site flows in this direction, eventually crosses Route 20 in this location. That flows to the Salasco River watershed. Topography on the site, generally, the vast majority of the site from this high point here, another high point in this location, flows inward to the large wetland that borders on an intermittent stream. And there's a small drainage area in the northern portion of the site that drains to this wetland. And then finally, there's a third drainage area roughly in this area that flows toward Route 20. There are several existing buildings on the site. Storage shed here, the main building. By the way, I failed to mention that this used to be a farmland, which is now grown in, was known as the Allen property, if you're familiar with the Allen family. The three structures that were associated with that use are all being raised as part of this project. And as you'll see when I flip the page, the subject of the notice of intent, at least the proposed work, is only located in this zone. This line that separates the site is the sub-district boundary. So the flexible overlay district was set up for this project, and two districts were established. Sub-district A, which is north of this line, and sub-district B, which is south of that line. We are here this evening to request approval or confirmation of all the resource areas on the site. But as you'll see, when I get farther into my presentation, the proposed development is limited to only sub-district A. The wetland resource areas, as you see on the plan, were delineated in the field by Ecotech in the fall of last year. all survey located and mapped on the plan that you have before you. Finally, in terms of constraints, this line that you see here represents a 200-foot buffer zone to the residential properties to the west. That 200-foot zone excludes all impervious area. Any questions with respect to existing conditions before I turn the page?
Does anyone have anything? No. Just one question. You say you were only concerned with the northern portion
Yes.
today. Why not the other portion? What's the reason?
I'm gonna show you the master plan, and that might put it in context for
Okay.
you, if you just allow me to flip
Yep.
the page. I mentioned the site readiness grant program funding that Mass Development is putting forth. And that funding is only for this roadway that you see in Sub-District A. But what I'd like to do is start with this master plan. This is the master plan that was recently filed with MIPA, and this plan contemplates a total of 450,000 square feet of total development, 275 of which will occur in Sub-District A, and 175 will occur in Sub-District B. So Sub-District B is a future phase of the project. Right now, we're taking the entire project through the MIPA process, but only Sub-District A for the local permitting, preliminary and definitive subdivision, and of course, a notice of intent. So I wanted to put the project in context and show you, the overall build-out of the project. Eventually will look something very similar to this. The uses themselves, it's limited to about a 40% mix, 40% office, 60% industrial park, if you will. That is what's currently contemplated for the project. The third map I want to show you is what's actually the subject of this evening's notice of intent filing. So I've zoomed in on Sub-District A, and you'll see this roadway here. The buildings themselves are not part of this notice. It's just the roadway infrastructure, stormwater, and earthwork. Let's go to the next map here. This is actually sheet 9 of the plan set that you have in front of you. And for orientation, again, north is straight up the page. This is South Street. The sub-district line that I described is here, so this entire area is located within Sub-District A. So the plan itself is a 1,000-foot-long dead-end cul-de-sac. It is a boulevard-style roadway for the first approximately 250 feet. Consists of two 20-foot travel lanes and a 10-foot wide median. From that point, it transitions to 30 feet of pavement to its terminus in a traditional cul-de-sac. So this roadway eventually will provide frontage and access to the future development lots that I depicted, which, by the way, are very conceptual in nature at this time. Also part of the project would be the stormwater infrastructure, and which is what you see here. The stormwater design is designed only to mitigate the roadway. It's not designed to mitigate those future development buildings and parking areas that I showed on the previous map. The mitigation for those individual uses will be done individually on each future parcel. To support this roadway, it's probably difficult for you to see from your vantage point, but this bold black line is a retaining wall, and it varies in height from about 2 feet all the way up to 15 feet. And that allows the roadway to be elevated. So if you study the grades, you'll note that the roadway is elevated quite a bit above existing grade. And the reason for that is the topography on the site slopes upward from the road to the northern property line. We've brought the roadway up, supported it with a retaining wall so that the roadway relates to the future lots. So we don't have a situation where you have very steep driveways to access the lots. So in order to elevate that roadway, what you see here are grades. This area right here is a cut area, which would eventually have to happen to accommodate these buildings. We're taking material from that cut area and utilizing it to fill the roadway to create a balanced condition on the site.
Material balance will be equal? There'll be
Yes.
no importation?
Exactly. We will have to import things like gravel-based material, but the parent material itself will be utilized on site for a balanced condition.
May I ask what the composition of the parent material is?
So, we've done test pits out there, and I can tell you it's generally, it's a material that is usable for structural fill. It needs to be done in a controlled manner. It needs to be dry, which is pretty common. But we have determined that the material itself is suitable. I can also tell you that there's, especially up in the higher reaches of the site, there is ledge. It's visible at the surface, so there will be some blasting associated with this cut area as well. We expect that material to be processed on site, mixed with the parent material, and placed in lifts as structural fill beneath the roadway.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So the stormwater management area, as I mentioned, it mitigates only the roadway, and the northern portion of that stormwater management area is essentially created in part by that retaining wall. So it's all integrated, the stormwater retaining wall roadway. We've provided access. There's a break in the wall that provides access around the basin for maintenance purposes, which is required under the DEP stormwater management policy. And the basin itself mitigates the 2, 10, 25, and 100-year storm events, as we're required to do, again, under the Mass DEP stormwater management policy. I want to talk briefly about the wetland impact, because there is some direct impact. Most of the work that you see is located within the 100-foot buffer zone. The bold green line is the wetland edge, and this light green line, might be difficult for you to see, is the 100-foot buffer zone. There's a wetland finger right here, and I've outlined it in red. That area receives drainage from South Street, which is piped to this location. So I wouldn't call that a pristine wetland, if you will. That finger has been created due to the stormwater outfall from South Street. So in order to place this road in a manner that leaves an area, a critical mass, if you will, for development, we've placed the road where it is, which results in a very small impact in this location. It's just north of 700 square feet. The mitigation is this hatched area right here, immediately adjacent to the impact, which is about 1,400 square feet. That area is characterized as an open, wet meadow. There's very little woody vegetation growing in that impact area. We've provided wetland replication details in the plans as well for the commission's review. We have not received a DEP file number yet, unfortunately, for this project. I checked it just before coming here. So I'm not sure if the commission was even inclined to act on this project in one hearing, but no file number at this point in time, so. That is a high-level overview of the project. I'm happy to answer any questions, get into more detail if needed.
Martha?
Would you please just outline the basin for me
Sure.
visually?
So this is the berm of the basin. You see that shaded area? That provides access around the berm, and then it's again defined by the retaining wall on the northern edge. So it's a long linear basin.
Okay.
And I probably should also describe a few other drainage components. As a result of raising that road up, as I described, it creates sort of a valley right here. That valley will be eventually filled when these pad sites are developed. But what we've done in the meantime is the water that comes off of this hill is collected in this swale and picked up in a structure here and bypassed through the road where it's outlet toward the wetland. There's a secondary bypass in this location that picks up flow from the swale and outlets it and bypasses it to the wetland. In other words, there's no need for us to collect that undeveloped runoff and mitigate it, so we're collecting it and bypassing it.
I have one comment, which is the little wetland finger that's created by channeling from the drainage from South Street.
Yes.
Is still considered a wetland, even though it's not a pristine wetland. If it functions as a wetland, it is a wetland.
Understood.
Okay, thank
And
you.
we understand that we need to mitigate it just like we would any wetland. We're providing a 2-to-1 ratio for that mitigation.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good for now.
Is the funding, where's the funding from for this project coming?
Mass Development is part of their site readiness grant, and please chime in, as you see fit, Claire, is providing the funding for the roadway infrastructure that you see here.
If I may just add to that, it's the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Site Readiness Program, which Mass Development manages on behalf of the Commonwealth. And we've provided funding to the town to complete the master plan, the engineering associated with the Sub-District A roadway, and also for the MEPA filings. The town intends to file other additional applications to the state over the coming year in order to complete that actual infrastructure, the physical infrastructure of the road.
Right, thank you for clarifying that. I misspoke. The site readiness funding provides essentially the soft costs. The town will be applying for Mass Works grant. I believe it's August 1st timeframe for the actual construction.
For the
Thank
actual
you for
construction. Which, okay, so we don't, the town doesn't have funding for the actual construction yet.
Correct.
That's all I have for right now.
I have a couple of questions. Follow up on that. Are you working for the town of Shrewsbury or for Mass Development?
Our services are paid for by Mass Development, but we've been working very closely with the town of Shrewsbury.
And will that be the case with the construction of the road as well, or will the town be bidding that out and be responsible
The
for
latter.
the construction?
The latter.
Okay. You mentioned that the drainage calculations and the drainage provisions on the roadway are sized explicitly for the roadway.
Correct.
Is that are you implying then that there'll be no off-site drainage from any of the developed properties?
Off-site, you mean beyond the limits of the property?
Yes.
Correct. The future development lots that I described there'll be further mitigation for stormwater required on each one of those lots. It may take the form of open basins. It may be a hybrid situation where you have open and subsurface basins.
But there'll be no discharge off of those sites? That's your commitment with this?
I just want to make sure I understand the question.
My sense is that if you develop a property, it's gonna be looking for drainage, perhaps treated from their parking lot into a drainage system
Yes.
in the roadway.
So each one of these development pads will have mitigation itself and will ultimately, after mitigation, will connect to these overflow pipes.
So it will connect to the drainage in the street.
Yes, it has to have,
So that your statement that the drainage is calculated and sized only for the roadway does.
let me try to
Yeah,
understand.
please.
Let me try to explain it a little bit better. The actual volume in this basin is sized only to mitigate the impervious area of the actual roadway.
Okay,
Each lot will have additional volumetric storage to mitigate the impervious associated with each of those buildings. It will eventually outlet to the wetland resource areas, as it does today. Does that clarify things?
yes, yeah, I mean, I guess the piping in the street, the infrastructure in the street
Yes,
will be sized to accommodate drainage from those lots.
right, the actual hydraulics eventually, these pipes will serve as an overflow.
Yeah.
So we'll have mitigation on each lot, and then we'll have an ultimate connection to those overflow points.
My last point is that with respect to the materials and the excavates on the site. One of the members asked about what this material is. I'm fairly familiar with the material down in that area, and I think it's all till. Right? It's all very fine granulated soils that are very, very susceptible to becoming suspended.
Moisture,
And in rain, and will require very careful on-site management of any rainwater or any moisture that comes in contact with it. It'll mean that I think the excavations will have to be limited in size. There'll have to be a lot of intermediate retention areas constructed during the excavation period. You may even have to go to polymer treatment of the discharge from those holding areas. I'm just here to say that I will be very sensitive to that, and it's gonna be very important in your subsequent discussions with us to reassure the engineering department that your sediment control plans are really top-notch.
So noted.
Put you on notice of that, because these, and Brad will be very familiar, these are very dangerous soils. And and it looks like you're gonna have a lot of exposed area.
And we did provide erosion control plans, and one of the things that, we recognize exactly your point.
Yeah.
And that applies essentially regardless of the material. I think it's exacerbated
Well,
when you have fines until,
you know,
to your point. We have broken up this area into smaller areas via erosion control, and we can consider things like temporary stabilization. In other words, working from north to south, you do a cut, some temporary loam and seeding to stabilize areas. Those are measures that we can certainly consider.
I think engineering is gonna have to scrutinize that and make sure that all of those provisions, all of the above are included. This will be a difficult excavation. That's it for me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Michael,
Have you, one more question, does engineering actually, what's the status of this in the engineering department of this review?
Well, we've got the package to review. I think Brad started reviewing it. I haven't looked at it myself. It also will trigger the stormwater bylaw, so there will also be another second
Planning
review.
board, they're just starting
Planning
it?
board's just starting reviewing too, so it's kind of early in the process, so we have looked at it, maybe not, I haven't had time to go with a fine tooth comb, but, and we have been working on the project all along,
Right, I
so.
expect so,
we
yeah.
will.
Michael, sequence of construction, did you put together one yet for how you're gonna go about building this road and doing the excavation?
The erosion control plans have a high-level sequencing. It's something that
Okay.
we generally add to all of our plans. But to your point, we're happy to work with the engineering department and develop a comprehensive sequencing and stabilization.
For all of the construction throughout, yeah, just not as it applies to the erosion control, just, you know, when you're gonna do the cut for the road, and then when you're gonna cut into the hill, you know, and put a timeline on it, so we know what's coming first, what's coming second, and then we can fit the erosion control measures to meet that.
Sure, we're
construction
happy to,
sequence.
happy to work with the town.
Yep. And the other question is, the access road around the very elongated detention basin, it looks like there's only access from one side. I know you talked about this wall that you're building, so you can bring the grade of the road up.
Yes.
And you're not gonna be too low on the high side. So can you access the detention basin from the other side of that wall?
So the access that I described earlier, there's a break in the wall where the grade becomes flush, so the wall actually disappears.
Can you show, where is that?
That's right here. In this shaded gray area is the access. And then, albeit tight in here, there is the ability to access from the end of the cul-de-sac. So essentially, you have through access in this location.
And when you say through access, I'm talking both sides of the detention pond, is that what you're saying?
It says you have access here.
Yeah, but-
On the north
but-
side of
but
the
to-
ponds, you have a retaining wall.
Get
and
right to here, but how do you get it, all of this up in here?
You have access up here, he said.
Yeah, but you're in the middle
But
of,
you go, no, this is a ridge,
I think that's his access road, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, it's a roadway.
and that's all
Yeah,
it.
so typically, we see these access roads, they loop the entire pond, so you
I see.
can get around it and you can, you know, muck it out if the sediment's built up. It looks like the way this is laid out, you can get around one side of it, and then to do, if you can't reach, you know, well into the basin, you then have to go in and drive into it through one of your little breaks at the ends. You see what I'm saying?
I do. What we're required to do is to provide access such that you can get to all of your outlet control structures.
Okay.
And access the bottom of the basin. So in an ideal situation, you would have access around the entire basin. In this case, we don't have the luxury of that real estate,
That's
if
sort
you
of my
will.
question, yeah. So
But
it is access from basically one side and at certain points to get into the basin.
Exactly.
So you'd have to go in with a bobcat or something
If you do have
muck it
to
out.
bring a machine in here to hog out sediment for any reason, whether it be during construction or as part of a long-term operation and maintenance, there's a means to access every point of the basins.
Okay. Andy, do you have anything to add to?
I mean, we'd say we're currently reviewing it, so I think we'll probably
Yeah.
have more comments next time, but
Obviously, a site walk at some point. I think, was Brad trying to set one up, Michael?
I'm not sure. I haven't been able to touch base with Brad in
He's
a while.
unavailable right now, so.
he's gonna be out for a couple of weeks, but I think we'll try and schedule something
Yeah.
ahead of time.
I believe he was trying to set one up a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, just actually for for today, wasn't it? I think it was scheduled,
I
but then
never
he,
got that far.
yeah, he wasn't able to make it. Okay, we'll set up a site walk with you, Michael,
Okay,
okay?
happy to do that.
And while you're here, let's open this up to questions from the public while we're at it. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments on this particular hearing? None?
I should say, Mr. Chairman, that Mr. Polito is recusing himself.
Yes, Ken.
As he is in the butter.
Correct. Okay, we don't have any further questions or comments tonight, so we'll continue this to our next meeting, which is May 14th. Okay, Michael?
Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you.
Just let the record show I recuse myself.
Yes, Bob
I
just
just said.
mentioned that. This is the notice.
Sorry about that.
Okay, we have a new notice of hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that McGovern Development Corporation, P.O. Box 478, Sutton, Mass., has filed a notice of intent for the removal of an existing house and shed, construction of a new residential duplex home and driveway with associated grading and utilities at 280 South Quinsigamon Avenue. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening.
Evening. I'm Eric Bezet with Allen Engineering, here this evening with Michael McGovern from McGovern Development. Have some certified mail receipts to collect.
Yep, you wanna bring it up here? Here's good.
Thank you.
Okay, so our project is located at 280 South Quinsigamon Avenue. It's a existing single-family house on the lot now with a shed. It's located on the corner of South Quincy Ave and Stoneland Road here, and it's right across the street from Cedar Road here. So, we have an intermittent stream that runs through the site here. The stream represents the edge of the bordering vegetated wetland, and then the pink line is the 100-year flood plain taken off the most recent FEMA maps. So here's our existing site then. It's a 25,500 square foot lot, and the entire lot is within the buffer zone or the wetlands, except for this one little wedge right here. This is the limit of the 100-foot buffer zone. So basically, the entire lot is within either wetland resource areas or the buffer zone. So what we're proposing is to remove the existing house and shed, remove all the debris and the trash that's collected on the lot over time. Two driveways, two individual driveways, one for each side of the duplex. And again, you know, we're within the buffer zone of the resource area. We show the erosion control barriers here in a dark line going right along the edge of the DLSF, the 100-year flood, and then back up and around here. This is basically the existing limit of disturbance. And then also what we're proposing to do. This area in here hasn't really been disturbed, but it is completely overgrown with Japanese knotweed. It's collecting litter, and there's tires have been dumped there. It's a real mess in this area. So what we'd like to do is just go in here, completely mow that down, get rid of all the knotweed. The trees will stay, but we'd like to plant grass within this area here, and then lawn around the building. And then on our landscape plan here, we'd like to have a row of arborvitaes here to keep people from throwing litter out their windows, which apparently has been a problem here over time. You can see there's quite a bit of litter that's collected in this area here. So that's basically what we want to do, is just remove the existing single-family house, replace it with a duplex. We had shown this on a single-sheet plan originally that we filed with the Conservation Commission. We filed the same plan with Planning Board. Planning wanted it broken down into separate sheets. So we revised the plan into a set of plans, which you have in front of you now. You know, it's a little different than the single sheet we originally filed, but all the information is the same on there, except for we originally did not include the eradication of the Japanese knotweed into here. So this is something that wasn't shown on the original plan that we had filed. The owner of this parcel is Mr. Victor De Oliveira. He lives right on the opposite corner of Stoneland Road and Quinsigamond Avenue. So he has a real interest in the final appearance of this project. His house overlooks this lot, and he's still gonna own this property when he's done. So, like I say, he has a genuine interest in the final appearance of this project.
Martha?
What do you have, you're adding a fair bit of impervious surface here.
Yes.
How are you dealing with that?
We're gonna stabilize the ground surface that's there. We weren't proposing anything extraordinary. It's exempt from stormwater management because it's less than 4 units. So really all we were going to do was just control erosion, and then there will be some natural infiltration that occurs around the building in the lawn areas, but other than that, we were just gonna let the water seek its own level.
I think we usually try to do, to suggest dry wells.
Well, I do through you, Mr. Chairman, and the amount of disturbance, this will fall under the new stormwater permit, so you will need to meet the stormwater standards for the town. So I don't believe we have an application in, but, so we will require stormwater mitigation as part of that development.
And part of that will be infiltration, dry well.
Yeah, basically the stormwater, it mimics the Stormwater Wetlands Protection Act. It also, has a closer look at erosion control, phosphorus removal, and general O&M in the project. So all the information is on the engineering website, but it's an administrative review and it can run concurrently, with these two, but it will fall under that because it's over 5,000 square feet of disturbance. So, so there will be some. So I was going to recommend that you probably want to continue anyway till we finish out the stormwater review.
Thank you. Thank you for getting rid of the Japanese knotweed and the trash.
Well, we're hoping to work with you on that, so.
Okay, I'm all set.
What's that? Jason?
How close, see the deck, how close is it to the actual wetland?
So it's, the deck itself is about 10 feet from the edge of the BLSF,
Okay.
the floodplain, and then it's another 3 feet to the edge of the BVW.
So about 13
Yeah, so
feet.
say 13 feet.
And we noticed on the grading and drainage plan,
Yes.
a drain coming off the back right corner.
Yeah, that's the foundation drain.
Okay.
So that would be for, to meet the building code, you have to have, it has to be below the slab of the basement. And so that's what that drain is for.
That's it for now.
No, the only issue I have is the 13-foot distance of which you speak. We've had a long-standing policy that no permanent structure should be constructed within 30 feet of a wetland boundary. And I think we should give you the opportunity to rectify that.
We do have an existing structure on this lot now, which is even closer than that, so what we're
Well, we
proposing.
appreciate you taking that down, but any new construction should be 30 feet from the wetland boundary.
That's just the shed, the existing structure, right, you're talking about?
Yes.
It looks like the house is further, much further away. So you're talking a little shed.
You weren't provided our policy information?
I wasn't aware of that. No.
They can, engineering can do that.
You can give that to him.
Yeah, it's put on the website, but I can certainly forward it if it's not.
And I guess I do have a second question. In terms of the cutting you're gonna do to the left of the, yes, right. Are you proposing a replacement plan of specific restoration plan of plantings and?
Other than, we were gonna propose a row of arborvitae's along the street, but other than that, it would just be converted to a lawn area, so it'll just be grass. It's, because of the knotweed is so aggressive, that's the one way to stay on top of it, is just to keep mowing it. So, that's what we had proposed.
Okay.
You all set, Bob?
Yes, I'm all
Ken?
set, thank you.
Yeah, I too have a concern with the proximity of the home to the wetlands, especially wetland flag 813. The new house, post house, is a lot closer to the wetland than the original home. I can see the overlay on the plan based on what you provided us, so we've had a long-standing set of guidelines that hopefully you can read and try to make some adjustments to your plan to reflect our guidance. And Mr. Truman said he would get you a copy of those if you were not provided them. That's it.
All set? One question we have, this is being passed down through our conservation agent who's not here tonight. He was questioning the datum for your elevations on the plan. I think he was making a point that the floodplain actually should be mapped at 359. Looks like it's about 357 and a half on your plan, and I think he was questioning the datum you might have been using, and to at least rectify it against the 359 floodplain for that area.
Okay.
Because if that in fact is the same datum he's referring to, then that moves that floodplain much, much closer to your building, and it's a whole different ballgame if that bears out. So,
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
yeah, can you, because that's a real big one.
I remember we looked at the flood maps, and the flood maps didn't specify an elevation. So I'm curious as to what the datum is for the elevation that he's referring to.
Yeah, and I think if you get in touch with engineering, we can
Okay.
work with you on that,
All right.
okay? And a question I have too is, I know you're going from a single-family house, this is now a duplex, which again makes the siting of this more difficult in this tight lot. Is there any reason it has to be a duplex? I mean, two,
I mean, it's what we've proposed, that's what we looked at initially, it's how it worked financially for us, so, it was zoned for that. We thought the planning board would like it,
Okay.
because there was right next door, there was another one built, a duplex, much larger. This one is
Okay.
much smaller, which we thought was more in character with the neighborhood.
So if it stays a duplex, then is there a way you can reorient the house? I know you have a building envelope there based on your setback lines.
Right.
Is there a way you can turn it, almost looks, and work with the wetland and pull it away?
I don't think we can meet the 30 feet, because we've got, We've got a 30-foot setback on the side of the lot.
Yeah.
As you can see, we'd have much left if we applied that same setback to the wetland.
Yeah. I mean, a combination of shortening the house a little and turning it a little more, you can pull yourself back maybe another 5 to 10 feet, you know, just pulling it toward the right-hand side of the plan.
Yeah, is
No.
it 30 feet hard and fast, or is that?
It's, you know, it's, for new construction, it's something, you know, we're trying to enforce. It's basically 30 feet to the structure. There you got decks, which obviously you can move the decks toward the front of the house even, and you would pull them back, you know, pull that away out of from the wetland. You're gonna gain about probably 5 or 6 feet from
Well,
the
this is the
deck.
first you've heard of the 30-foot, I'm guessing, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, I would say, you haven't had a chance to even try to meet it, so, I think, that should be your major effort.
Take-
In the floodplain.
In the floodplain,
And the
yeah, that's
floodplain.
gonna
That-
be
That's your
the,
biggest,
that's the biggest
issue.
hurdle right now. All right, Andy, anything else to add to this?
No, I'd say the biggest thing is it's gonna fall under the bylaw, stormwater bylaw, so we just wanna make sure we have time to review it and get our comments in, because so there will be some stormwater system in there.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Can you state your name and address, please?
Activity, 10 Stone Roadway. This is the plans, and it does need some cleaning up. On the property, a couple of things I was concerned about the trees. The plans are kind of inconsistent as to what trees are coming down. And that raises, is what's going on around the lake, as you guys well know, can be a problem. Even though it's an intermittent stream, you know, that helps the erosion, the way that goes forward. So I would hope that, I know that some work, well, I'm under the impression that trees can't get cut down within the resource area, so within the floodplain area, but as I say, I drive by there and there's trees both in there and outside of there. They're mature, so I would hope that you take consideration about that. The second thing is the Japanese knotweed. Grew up on a lake, it's all around there, and it's hard to get rid of, but I'm wondering how the proponent is gonna be taking it out, whether it be manually or with herbicides. And there's also, Japanese weed within the resource area, right on the bank of the riverbed, so, or the stream bed. So that, you know, I think there's gotta be some conditions to say how he's gonna take care of it, how he's gonna remove it, and to protect. We don't need any more than, how he's gonna also, the chain of custody from getting rid of the invasive. I would think we just don't want it cropping up anywhere else, where it's gonna end up, how he's gonna remove it, where it's gonna, you know, they kind of spread by root from what I read. The last thing I had was, cut and fill. Is there any of that going on here?
We're basically gonna be at grade with the back of the building, so, there might be a little bit, but, it's a bigger building than what was there, so there will be a little bit of cut and fill, but, not substantial.
So I asked that question too, because some of the elevations are all the same from existing to new. And I see you're bringing in loam, 4 inches of loam. Does that count as fill? So that's not even represented. I mean, it's represented on a plan, is what he's stating, but that's significant across 25,000 square feet, less the footprint of the building. Just some things to look at, you know, he's a good neighbor, he takes care of his property real well. It's gonna be an improvement. I'm just concerned about, we have enough problems in that area with weeds and things like that, so if the proponent can take a peek at that and come back, or whatever he needs to do to address that, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I think the point about the trees is well taken. This is all within the 100-foot, so that I would think you should show on the plan every on-site tree over 8 inches and
There was
indicate. those which are gonna be moved.
We did walk through the site with the owner, and there was only
landscaping plan.
one tree that he wanted to
Yeah.
remove. And we did mention that, there's a 24-inch maple here. We can show the rest of the trees, but this is the only one that he thought needed to be removed, just because it was in pretty rough shape. It looked like it could blow down. It's diseased.
So there won't, well, what about, are there trees where the house is going?
There is a big pine tree back by the shed, and then there's other trees over in this area here, but like I say, we weren't supposed to remove any of those.
Okay, so that we could condition the approval on the removal of that single tree.
Just this one tree, Mike?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, just that, because it's dead.
And then you may want to consider also showing some type of a landscaping plan, a detailed plan, if you're going to plant grass in that area that you've discussed, if you're going to do any other landscaping or plantings, so a detail of that, just so we know.
Detail of just the lawn area, or?
Any type of trees or plantings that you're going to be doing within the buffer zone.
Okay.
I
so
believe
that-
your last page that you're showing has that.
The location, we didn't have.
Oh, you have the, showing you have the lady.
You've got the species for the planting beds.
But,
Is there more, Ken?
well, I'm just thinking that I'd like to see more of a detail where he's going right up to the edge of the brook.
Oh, we didn't have any trees proposed near the brook.
Okay.
That was just erosion control barrier along there.
You know,
I think where you're talking about eradicating the Japanese knotweed, I think you probably are gonna need some sort of specific plan if you're going to continue that eradication towards the stream. And I imagine there's Japanese knotweed growing down the banks of that stream.
Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
So you're not gonna go beyond the erosion control
How about this?
areas?
No trees?
Right, but is that what you were saying, that maybe a row?
Well, I
of
just,
plants?
if you're going, like what Martha's alluding to, if you're going beyond the barrier, and you're going to take that weed out beyond the barrier, we need to know exactly how you're going to do it.
Yeah, we weren't proposing to go beyond there, just because to keep that maintained, it would be really tough. I mean, you really
Okay.
have to, it's really overgrown down in there.
Anyone else in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. We'll, obviously, we've got a little bit of work to do on it, so we'll continue this hearing until May 14th.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a new notice of hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Anacelo Homes, 250 South Quinsigamon Avenue, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a house addition and swimming pool at 250 South Quinsigamon Ave. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room.
My name is Carlos Ferreira, I'm civil engineer for the project, Nacelio, he's the homeowner. We were here, what was it?
Back in December.
December for the petition to, like, Nacelio bought the property adjacent to his house. And we applied for the demolition of the house and the reconstruction of the wall along the lake. That work is under.
Yeah, the wall on the lake, it's already done, the house has been down. And now I have to refile in order to put an addition in the pool. They require me to do all the paperwork and make sure that I got all the requirements, the setback and everything.
So he's proposing like a 900 square foot addition to the existing house that's gonna go into the adjacent land. The footprint of the house is similar to the house that was there before. It just has like a connector to the existing house. The purpose of that is that he's gonna create like a master bedroom.
I'm gonna create a master bedroom facing the water on the second floor. And my kitchen's kind of small, so my wife wants to get a bigger kitchen. So I'm gonna keep the kitchen that I have in the house as just a pantry. And it'll be like a kitchen and a walkout basement. Because my existing house right now, it doesn't have a full basement, it's just basically low ceiling on it.
And we're proposing, he's proposing like infinity pool on the property. It's kind of a little tight, but
Can you give us some offsets from the proposed addition to
The-
the lake?
the house is, the house, I mean, to the water,
Yep,
the house is like about 1734, it's about like 40 feet. The pool is like closer to the water, the pool is like about 18 feet, the edge of the pool.
all right. I mean, I see the proposed addition to the house
Yep.
from that edge of the foundation to the lake. What would that be?
Yeah, so like, this distance,
I get you now.
yeah, this
Okay.
distance in here is about like 40 feet.
Okay, right in that corner.
Yep.
Okay, I get you now. Yeah, I was thinking the lake wrap more.
I mean, he did like some nice,
Then I have my architect design, kind of like put a 3D regarding the landscape and the plants and how it's gonna look after we get it done.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's the lake here. Yep, that's the addition out there, and that's a side yard. I was thinking the lake wrap. Oh, yeah.
So, tell me what's existing?
Existing, okay, take on this one, be able to see. Okay. Existing is basically all the deck, where is the other one? Third one, there you go. You got an angle in here with the deck in this, because my angle, I mean, I only had 35 feet, so basically, this is a wider
The
what?
stairs, all this
All
deck,
this is
all
all-
this, the house
it's
is here,
existing.
so he's proposing this volume.
Yeah. So the architect is working with the roof line, and then I can kind of show next time, because I might have to cut this, because I'm trying to work, I have issues in it with the water on the back part of it, so we're gonna try to accommodate and get it there, done and fixed, you know? And this is also done except up to about here, because I bought this. So this is the wall, the lid got done, actually, the wall is down here. And then what's gonna happen, this is access from the part of the pole in here, and this will be our planting, landscaping plant. And I gotta keep 10 feet away from the property line, so the fence will be there, and I'm gonna create like a 3-foot planting bed, which is gonna follow the edge of the property all the way to the top of the front of the linen, you know?
This is all impervious, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this, is it, that's a good question. What is the material?
Oh, this
for
is
the
just
decks?
cinder block, which is, I already have it. It's in, I'm using here on top of my deck.
Yeah.
It has like a propane on it, so it's basically like the ones as you buy it. It has a propane tank on it with a tank on it,
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
just,
Yep, but in the deck material, all of this, like under here, under the
All
wooden
this
deck.
material.
okay, all this is in here is gonna be bluestone. I already got bluestone in here on this part.
So loosely set into?
Yeah, stone dust.
Stone dust?
Yes.
Okay, so
All
no,
stone dust.
not mortared, water
No,
can
no,
go
no,
down
no,
and
no
all?
more because I need to have that as for the drainage purpose, you know?
okay,
I don't
yeah.
wanna have any
And
issues in that.
then when you're getting up into this area, what happens?
This
to
is
the-
gonna be all planting.
That's
So
planting,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna have any mulch, I'm gonna have all river rock,
Yeah.
you know, fabric and everything, cause behind my wall, it's all drainage pipes.
Okay.
So what I have now, it's like, the stones all the way up to the top of the wall, about a foot down, That's what I'm gonna use, fabric and plants, and everything else will be plant, because I like, it's kinda hard for you to keep mulch around the lake there, 'cause it's a lot of wind and
But the
everything.
deck
Yeah.
around the pool's gonna be concrete?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be also bluestone.
Oh, bluestone
All
there too?
bluestone, so I can have all my drainage proper. 'Cause it moves a lot when it's in the stiff field dust, so if you do concrete, it's always gonna break it, you know? So so this is gonna be all bluestone, all the way around. I already have bluestone in here. I'm intention to copy and make everything bluestone. The only part that's gonna be concrete will be my landing here, because I have to set this for the stairs. So this is the only part that's gonna have concrete on it, because I gotta put my treads on the stone. Other than that, everything else. Between the stairs, it's gonna be all bluestone with stone dust, so I can have all my drainage work perfect.
All right. Martha,
I'm okay.
Jason,
Okay for right now.
No questions.
yeah,
You need a dock,
Yes.
are you gonna put a dock in?
I already have mine here, Ken, so I'm gonna do is just gonna move it.
You're gonna take the existing dock and move it?
I'm just gonna move it because that way I have my jet ski docking, which is the floating one, and the other one. What I did, I'm getting away with the wooden one, and I bought the aluminum one. So basically, the one, mine is over here, I'm just gonna basically send it to the center point. I'm gonna put on the edge, and here, that way I can have boats on either side. I'm gonna keep the other one, I'm gonna keep the middle, so my kid can swing and swings, that's all. Guys, I always had the wooden one, so I'm gonna take it out. That was in the house when they bought, but it
You have
breaks
to-
every year.
You have to approve the location, Ken?
It's gotta be, well, as long as there's no other work to be done to
No.
accommodate it, I guess the commission would be all right, I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure, but you've gotta come to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
The
'Cause,
Lake Commission, the Lake Commission to
Yeah.
show where you're going to put it.
Yeah, because right now it's located here. I was just gonna shift it this side. Because before I only had 35 feet of frontage on the water, so now I got close to 90. So instead of having everything located right here, I was gonna send it this way.
You put GPS coordinates on all these?
No, they just come and look, just look at it,
Just do a
they just
visual?
need to know, they have a hearing and they just need to make sure it's not going to, I know you have
Yeah.
plenty of area, but
Yeah.
what happens is sometimes people move these things and
Mm-hmm.
things are tight and it becomes an issue, so the Lake Commission just likes to make sure that there's no other issues with a neighbor.
Can you tell me about the lot that you acquired in here?
Okay. Basically, I owned this before.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, from here.
Okay.
So when I bought this in the auction, this belongs to my next door neighbor, which is the right of way, which access the house on the side. And also, basically, I own from this point over, which is you see right here.
Yep.
So what my intention was before I wanted to put a garage, but I really don't have the room to do it. So, and my wife made me, oh, let's get a new kitchen and work because our kitchen's kind of small together with the living room. So basically, this is what so I only own the back part of it, even though this is a right of way. But because I have the front, I really don't need to that. What's gonna happen?
Wow.
What was the existing,
Okay,
when we applied for the demolition, so this was the house, only the stairs on it, so like this lot is 9,000 square feet, this lot is 3,000 square feet, and that's the additional.
So this lot, this is still, who owns this?
Gloria. And she owns this. That's her
There's no
driveway.
property, there's no house on there?
It is a house, yeah.
Oh, is this the house? the
It's a
existing
house, yeah.
two-foot? Okay.
So I have to stay 10 feet away from the property according to
Yeah.
Pam. Yeah, that's right, ma'am. And she's the owner.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
I was just wondering what this looked in.
Yeah.
So this is still your home here?
Yes, it is.
And this property up here?
It's also hers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's just wondering about this part, but he has done a wonderful, wonderful job on that.
Well, that's good.
The best cement work I've ever seen in my life.
That's good.
But I was just concerned because I haven't seen anything.
No.
This is the plan right here.
Well, I didn't see any of that.
with the
Yeah, that
pool.
got done about 2 days ago. I'm just gonna
And
turn
you're
around.
on this, you're on,
Okay.
she's over here, right?
Yeah, she's on this side here.
I'm right here,
Yeah, right close.
just a few feet.
Yeah, you can use the pole.
You can, yeah.
I can, no, thank you. I've got the lake. I would like a picture of this, you know? But so far, all my concerns, he has really
Good,
addressed
excellent.
Well, thank you, it's good
so
to hear.
far.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so you done, no comments?
I gotta, to what extent has engineering looked at this and?
Well, yeah, I guess the only question I have is, it looks like there's a lot more information on the color plan that was on the original site plan, so I don't know if Brad's fully aware, and
Yeah,
How
Brad
much- how
has
much-
all the, Brad has all both
the color,
copies.
okay, because I just saw the one today. So how much are you totally disturbing area-wise? Are you gonna fall under the new
Well, the
bylaw?
disturbing area was basically, this is, basically the whole entire lot is all disturbed. Because the house had to go down, and because of the setback, I was only like, the previous house was only 2.5 feet away because the grandfather. So everything got access from my house, so I knocked it down. She was able to allow me to go and use the dumps and get everything here.
But is it gonna be over 5,000 square feet?
Huh?
Are you gonna do more than 5,000 square feet of disturbance?
No.
No,
No?
because it's just
That's what you're
basically
checking, so you
the
don't
lot.
fall under the
Yeah.
bylaw,
Yeah,
okay.
the addition itself is 900, and the swimming pool is probably,
But it sounds like
Another
there's
200
decks
square
and
feet.
blue paved
Oh, no,
patio.
all the deck that was already done, that's not getting
What about in
touched.
here, though?
Yeah, just, yeah.
So
So
the
the
top-
whole lot is 3,700 square feet.
No, so you're all set then, all right. I was just sure, because I only see that plan, so no,
No, no.
we no further questions.
So I literally drop everything for him, from this one to this one and the other.
And here's the color ones too?
Yes.
All right. I think we're all set.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the hearing.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Guys, have a great night.
No, I gave it back to you.
All right.
All right, we can put it back.
Okay, we have a new hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Daniel and Leslie Terra, 29 Flag Road, Shrewsbury, have filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family residence addition, utilities, and stone walls at 29 Flag Road. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Yep, thank you.
Good evening, Peter Bemis, Engineering Design Consultants, here on behalf of the Terra family. 29 Flag is located here on the plan. As you can see, there's a wider view here to the right and 10 scale on the left. This is George Street. George Street would bring you out to Route 20, and Flag would wrap back out to 20. We abut Quinsigamon, but Flint Pond to be exact. The lot is shown in position here. There's existing residence. The Terra family had actually built this home here a number of years ago, secured a permit from the commission for the construction of that residence. When they built the home, they built it more or less to the right side of that lot, affording them the opportunity to put a small addition in on the left side. And that's all we're really doing now. It's an infill of an addition. It's 400 square feet of footprint area. When they did the original work, they tiered the landscape coming back up from the water body. So there's two sets of walls here with a terrace in between. We've just shown two erosion control barriers, if you will, just for reassurance to the commission to know that there would be no sediment transport down into the lake area. The addition is very easy to put in place and to minimize impact. It's all altered area, it's a lawn, and the trees that are there, existing trees along the lot line, are gonna be maintained. Access is right from the street, be able to do the foundation and frame and finish the work fairly short order. There is a small section of wall that has to be brought back into it, because there's an existing wall that comes up and they tie in about this point in the house. So that's the small area in pink that I'm showing here. That's actually masonry wall that would be reconstructed. We did show masonry wall detail. We have erosion control methods and procedures on the plan, and we've got an erosion control barrier here. So I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Martha?
Your erosion control is, it's wattle?
Yeah, we've got wattle and silt fence, so doubled up.
Okay,
So we're using the silt fence with a wattle backer.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
very little earthwork that has to occur here.
I'm all set.
Jeez.
Will there be a foundation under this addition?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Full foundation?
Yes, sir.
Those excavates? You're gonna, the excavates?
Yeah, they'll have to excavate, yep, back for it. This area is gonna match existing grades, so that's just gonna have a footer. But there'll be a foundation wall that's a
Hauled off-site? It'll be hauled off-site?
off-site, yes, there's no, there'd be little backfill that's needed after the work's completed.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Ken?
All set.
Peter, the foundation, is that just a frost wall, or are you doing a full foundation?
Well, the
Did you say
back
full?
line would be a frost wall, and then it's gonna step back, because this wall's gonna tie in. So there's be a small knee wall here.
Okay.
But then there's a full foundation at the front of the house.
Oh, okay.
That's the existing condition for that, for the dwelling as well. We're really matching that.
All right.
The hard work was done when we got the original permit from you. This was a difficult lot.
Andy?
No questions.
Nothing. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
DEP did issue a file number. Brad should have that. He got the same email that I got.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see you all. When I first looked in the room, we've all gotten a lot older. It's been a while since I've seen you all. Actually, Ken said to me, Ken says, "It is the commission," and I was like, I went over to him, we're all old now. So good to see you, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see a couple of guys I've worked with out here too. We're all old.
Well, you don't look a day older. So, this one. Is this the next one?
You get called an old man.
No, he was talking to all of you.
He didn't include the two of us down
Two down here.
Cheryl? Yeah, so.
Okay, we have another new hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Rashid Sheikha, 24 Sherrill Drive, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family house addition and associated site work at 24 Sherrill Drive. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Right here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. For the record, John Grenier, J.M. Grenier Associates. This existing house is located on the northerly side of Sherrill Drive, right before the cul-de-sac. There's an existing single-family home located on the easterly side of Sherrill Drive. It is an existing walkout. It's a walkout area with a deck. They have a stone patio with a gazebo, also on the easterly side of the lot. Where the addition is going is in the area where the existing deck is gonna be removed and between the house and the existing patio. So it's within existing lawn area. So they're proposing it's about a 1,600 square foot addition off of the back. The excavation primarily for that addition would just be a frost wall. As you head towards the southern portion of the lot towards the driveway, the foundation will step up to meet the grade as you head up towards the driveway. But once you hit the back of the house and also on the northerly side of the addition, it's all just frost wall, that's all walkout. So there'd be limited disturbance and excavation associated with that. On the northerly side of what would be a deck off the side of the addition, we are proposing a small wall. The max height on that would be about 3.5 feet, and that's just to make up a little bit of grade where the lot slopes off to the north so that you can have an area to walk around the deck and get over to the patio area. The limit of work is about 55 feet off of the wetland. The wetland is located to the north of the lot, off the property. That's actually a piece of land that's owned by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We're proposing erosion control beyond the wall, what's really the limit of the existing yard. We put it a little bit off that so they can get some access around to do whatever work they need to do for construction of the wall and to do a little bit of just tuning up the grade behind the wall on the northerly side of the wall. That's primarily it. We are recharging the roof runoff into recharge chambers between the addition and the patio. We made sure that the total disturbance area was less than 5,000 square feet, so we're not subject to the stormwater bylaw, so we don't have to submit for that. That's why we kept the limit of that retaining wall a little bit further to the south. We didn't expand the yard too much because we wanted to make sure we weren't breaking that threshold for the stormwater bylaw. I think that's all of it. If there's any additional questions or comments, we'd love to answer them.
Martha?
You are going to be adding additional roof surface.
Yes.
So how are you going to handle the drainage from that?
We're gonna be taking the roof runoff and putting them into some recharge chambers, subsurface recharge chambers that is gonna be just beyond the limit, just to the east of the addition. So we'll put some subsurface chambers to capture that roof runoff.
Can you tell us about the existing stones beyond the proposed retaining wall? What's the significance of that?
That's his landscaping. Yes, like an
I've never seen it come up on a plan before, so.
So he has some, like a stone line slope, but he's got some interesting, it's not just like a riprap stone, he just has stones along the slope, so.
Is anything happening with that, or is that just gonna stay?
That's just gonna stay.
Okay. All right. I'm okay, thank you.
Okay.
Jason?
I'm all set.
Bob?
I'm all set.
Ken?
I'm all set.
John, that erosion barrier you're showing to the north of the proposed deck? You see it?
Yeah, to the
Yeah.
silt fence and hay
How
beds.
come it's so short? How come you're doing grading around there? Why can't you lengthen that out a bit more? 483, 484 grading you're doing around. So it looks like it's it could be lengthened somewhat.
Everything does head down in that direction. We could lengthen it a little bit further towards the street, just to make
Yep.
sure any disturbance
Yep,
with
exactly,
that wall
yeah.
doesn't get. So
Yeah.
we could extend that, like you said, out to like the 480, like you said, 483, 484, about into where that label is for the, where it says existing edge of.
Yep, that'd be perfect, yeah.
Okay.
So
Get
how
up
many
there.
feet is that, John?
About 20 to 30.
30
Yeah,
feet?
maybe 30,
Okay.
20 to 30.
about 30 feet. We can add that on for there.
Andy?
Yeah, just to go ahead with that, right, you probably might want some around the edge of the stone too, because obviously you're digging out for the infiltration and you've got some grading, so you might want to just look.
On the east
Yeah, along the edge
side?
side, the existing patio on the east side, I would probably
Yeah.
put something along that edge.
We'll extend it.
Just to,
30 feet in both directions.
That sounds fine to me.
Yeah.
Nice round number.
That's it, Andy?
yeah, that was it really, yeah. It doesn't, so.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this here? All right, seeing none, we'll close it. Thanks, John.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Okay, we have another new hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Richard Bezegian, 9 Kenda Road, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home and associated improvements at 35 and 37 Melvin Avenue. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening.
Good evening. Chuck Scott from CFS Engineering. We're here representing a group of people. We're representing Richard, Lisa, and Susan. They're descendants from the Bezdijian family that has lived over here by Melvin Avenue and Sadler Avenue for greater than 70 years. Just to give you a brief little history of the property, Richard, Lisa, and Susan were granted the property from their mother Irene back in 2015. In 1965, Mary, the mother-in-law to Irene, actually purchased the property in question that we're here to discuss tonight. And so you can see that the property has been in this family for a really long time. Lisa actually lives, for orientation purposes, north is toward me. Lisa, and these are two different plans. You have the layout materials plan and the grading and drainage plan looking at you. But the plan on the left-hand side is the layout. Grading and drainage is on the right. Lisa actually owns the property to the south going up Melvin Avenue. And she also owns the property off of Sadler Avenue to the south of her, or actually to the west of her, which her daughter lives in now too as well. So they actually have owned the property and been there and are very familiar with the overall area. There has been a DEP file number issued for the property, that's 285-1822. We're here tonight because of, we're filing a notice of an application to perform work within 100 feet to a buffer zone, as well as proposing work within bordering land subject to flooding. And the area known as, the brook known as Kings Brook flows through our property. And it's not necessarily subject to the riverfront area, but we can discuss that in just a little bit. If I may, I'd like to get up and talk to the plan directly. Again, for orientation purposes, north is towards me.
This is buried.
The property in question is this parcel right here. It's called the existing lot. It's known on the assessor's map as map 32, parcel 145-2. It has frontage on Graylock Avenue, approximately 106 feet. Also, Melvin Avenue runs along the westerly side of the property. Sadler Ave is in this area here. Melvin Avenue is not improved beyond this point along the property. Access would actually be from Graylock. Sadler Avenue is in poor shape too, so access for this property is actually through Graylock. The property contains 17,760 square feet. Again, 106 feet of frontage along Graylock, which meets current zoning under the Residence B-2 zoning district. We have Kings Brook, which is identified by these two green lines. Probably you can see them on your plan as well. Two green lines identify the limits of the mean annual high water mark for Kings Brook, as well as the wetland boundary. Some 20, 30 years ago, the actual brook system was improved. It's all been rip-rapped from the top of the bank all the way down to its bottom to essentially to make it so that it wouldn't erode down through it. So there's really, as far as a substantial wetland system identified along the area. It's pretty much near the higher bank, but down in the actual brook itself, it's all armored with riprap. There are two large culverts that come through the area. There's a culvert that goes under a portion of Melvin Ave in this area here, and then another one over on Sadler. These are quite extensive culverts. They're some 8 feet, 10 feet wide by 6, 7 feet high, so they handle a lot of flow coming down through the region. Historically, talking to Richard, Lisa, and Susan, this brook, they only recall it actually overtopping its banks back in the 80s. Since then, they have never seen the water beyond the current banks of the Kings Brook as it is now. So we're talking some 30-plus years that, and I know we've had greater than 10-year storms, closer to 25-year storms over that period of time. So what that is indicating to me is Kings Brook can handle quite a bit of flow, but it can't handle, obviously, the 100-year flow. We've actually mapped the floodplain based on FEMA and the firm maps and the flood studies associated with that. Starting from Melvin Avenue, it starts at like 398.5, it all flows down in this direction. Elevation is 398.5. As it enters onto the site, it's at roughly elevation 397.2 down through the middle of the property here. And then as you're exiting the site, it drops to 396.75 going down towards Sadler. So it's not a level type floodplain. It drops as you go through the site. Overall, the existing property as it exists today, it's about a 50-50 split between an open meadow area and woodlands. The open meadow area is actually, it shows better on this way. You can see where the tree line is over in this area here, but there's an open meadow from the tree line back to the brook, and then there's woodlands in this area and a small portion of woodlands in the southerly part of the site. The utility service is out in Graylock. We have sewer, water, overhead, electric, cable, telephone services out there. What we're proposing is one single-family house with a footprint of about 2,000 square feet. That includes the garage. The size of the house was really dictated about what the market really drive at this point. So that was kind of a collective collection between all the owners to what size house that they would like to put in here, and that's about the size house footprint that they desire to locate on the site. It has an attached two-car garage. Access is from Graylock, and it's a straight-in access to the garage. The nearest portion of the house construction itself is about 32 feet from the wetland boundary. A small portion of that's 38 feet. 38 feet from this corner to the nearest point of the wetland. There's a deck on the back that's 12 by 16. It looks like I need to cut that down based upon earlier comments that I've heard from the board to make a 30-foot minimum structure to the wetland area. We can certainly accommodate that on the plan. The elevations of the plan are based upon what the current flood maps are indicating to us for what the flood zones are through the property. We established a garage floor elevation of 395.5. And that's essentially going to be in this area here, about 2.3 feet above the floodplain. And we'll get into that in discussion in a second. And the top of the concrete, essentially around the whole perimeter of the house, would be 400.16, which is like 3 feet above what the floodplain would be, or the flood zone would be for a 100-year storm. What we've designated on here, and I think it's on the second sheet of your plan set, if you have it, yeah. The second plan has an actual elevation of all the sides of the house, front, back, both sides. On there will be a basement for the proposed house, but we're proposing no windows or access points, bulkheads, doors of any sort to access into the basement area. And we need to maintain basement wall elevation to 398.5, 1.3 feet above the flood elevation. On the second sheet. Just showing elevations of, be right in there. These are all the elevations of the building down in there. Give you so you'll see on that is that we don't want to have any windows, doors, access points below 398.5 around the entire perimeter of the foundation, because that'll be above our 100-year flood elevation.
Chuck, can you talk a little bit about Kings Brook? It's fairly close to these two lots, and isn't that classified a perennial stream, if I remember?
It is definitely a perennial stream.
So how does the inner and outer riparian zone fit into this whole?
We have delineated that on the plan. In this case, since the mean high annual watermark and the BVW are one and the same, the 100-foot buffer zone to the BVW and the 100-foot inner riparian zone are one and the same. And that boundary is right along right here. So pretty much the whole property is within the riverfront area. A majority of it is within the 100-foot inner riparian zone.
But doesn't that limit your ability to?
Not under CMR 1058 for riverfront. This is a single-family house, which is exempt to construct a single-family house within the riverfront area. If the house, or if the lot predated August 7th, 1996. This lot was created in your notice of intent package in 1965. So it predates it by 30 years.
Run those dates again, Chuck. What was the law say?
August 7th, 1996 is when the Riverfront Act went into effect. And 1965, October of 65 is when the plan was recorded at the registry.
Making these two lots, it's lot.
Exempt.
When you say it was
Under the
recorded.
rivers. It's exempt.
You say it was recorded at the registry. These lots were created in 65, is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. And
Okay.
There's
Well,
a
yeah, I know
plan in
it.
your notice of intent package that shows the
Okay.
actual recorded plan.
Okay.
And that's important because it's,
Yeah.
there's provisions under the 1058 portion of the bylaw, or under the Wetlands Protection Act, which allows the commission, it says shall allow the construction of a single-family house, if sewer is not available, a septic system, and a driveway to access. So, unfortunately, it's, it is what it is, but it's, what we've tried to do then is look at it, and how can we minimize, to the maximum extent possible, the amount of alteration on the entire parcel. Because we're dealing with the floodplain, I don't want to switch gears, but because we're dealing with the floodplain, we're going to alter about 9,500 square feet of total area of construction. If we didn't have to deal with floodplain, it'd be a lot less. But in your plans, there are plans titled F1 and F2. These are 1057. that deals with floodplain. What we need to do is meet performance standards as outlined in there with regard to providing incremental compensation for the amount of floodplain altered on the site. So what you have here is, on the right side of the sheet, the floodplain filled areas due to the construction, and what we would be doing, how we would be compensating for that, okay? So in this case, kind of hard, you got the building footprint, you got an elevation of 395 that runs right through in this area here. But if you look back on the grading plan, I pulled that 395 back to this corner, okay? So we'd be altering 130 square feet of current floodplain, but by pulling the grade back to there, we'd be providing 210 square feet. And so we did that all the way till we got to the 100-year floodplain, and there are tables on there that indicate how we've compensated for each elevation along the way. So we've started at elevation 595, and the floodplain, the highest elevation of the floodplain on the property is 597.2. Under existing conditions, we would alter 3,300 cubic yards of total volume of floodplain for the construction of the entire project, but we'd be providing 4,813 cubic yards of compensation. So we're almost providing, at the high end, an additional 50% more floodplain storage at that higher end,
What's the required ratio?
1-to-1.
1 to 1?
You ready for questions?
Yeah, I think so. I know there's a lot of information, and it's, you know, it's a single-family house, but there are a lot of issues related to it. And I'd be more than happy to
So where are you adding that additional capacity, floodplain capacity?
How we're doing it is we're building a system of Versalock retaining walls around the perimeter so that, and we've graded in such a fashion to lower it down along the foundation wall so that it actually, water will fill up around outside. These blue lines, by the way, represent the floodplains. So there'll be the storage back in these areas to actually compensate for it.
So the house turns into an island, is what you're saying?
No, because it's high and dry from Graylock to the garage. So
So,
it's an island with access.
with that, an island with that, so that makes it a peninsula. So, I noticed you have erosion, I think you have erosion controls all across the brook. Wattle barriers you're showing on C1. Can you explain what you're planning to do there that would require these?
Sure, well, right at the limit of work is, what we're proposing, the installation of an erosion control barrier. That would be, silk fence backed by hay bales.
Right.
Okay, and there is a minor portion of grading to get the higher end of the volume for the floodplain compensation. So there's a minor portion of the work is required on the opposite side of the brook. And that's why we're just proposing a wattle barrier in that area there.
Okay. All right, I'm all set for now, thank you.
Lisa?
I'm all set for right now.
Bob?
I may come back.
I think you've done a good job here. I just want to say that.
It's not easy, it was.
I think I will want to know whether Brad's had the opportunity to scrutinize this, but other than that, I have no questions.
Brad had issued a response letter, I didn't know if you've seen it, I
He
got
sent
it
out,
late
the
last
commission
week.
got it, so it was in the folder, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Get a number
I mean,
of comments.
We'll let you hit on those, Andy. Ken, do you have any?
No, I'm good for now.
Okay. Why don't you go, Andy?
Yeah, he issued on that, April 12th, he issued a letter with 11 comments. A couple of them were just, you know, clarifying the address, physical address. Work within the riverfront zone, just meeting the performance standards, best expense, you know.
Need to add it to the NOI form.
Yeah, you know, alternative analysis, base flood elevations, again, the finished floor question, he had a question about the basement flooding, but I guess based on the elevations, it doesn't sound like that is an issue. Stockpiling, yeah,
Just
there
to
was,
answer that.
a lot of it was just clarifications, I think. The
Yeah.
biggest one was just meeting the performance standards for Riverfront to the best extent possible. I mean, it is allowed, it is permitted, but the flood zone, I think, just going back to the flood zone, because the flood zone has to be hydraulically connected, and it looked like, and I haven't had a chance to look at the plans, it's more,
The flood, a 100-year flood, if it were to occur today, would actually flow down and through here and go this way. Then after proposed conditions, it actually will come down and flow this way.
so it'll be
It's
able,
still
because you're showing
hydraulic.
some flooding around the back, it's hydraulically connected around the back.
So, yeah, it's not broken. It's-
Okay, that's the only thing that leaped out at me, was because it looked like it might have been disconnected, but,
You all set?
yeah, I think so, yeah. I
Well,
think
my question is, do you have to look at this again, or?
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't, you know,
Yeah.
we knew Brad was gonna be out, it wasn't until
Yeah.
next week, so, and I know he issued a letter, but it doesn't sound like the
He's
commission
gotta-
had it,
he's
so
gotta-
it might
he's
be-
gonna
it might
change
just be
the-
prudent just to,
He's gonna change the deck anyway.
yeah, carry it over till next time, and that way we can come back with a clean letter, we can close it then.
Okay.
We would recommend keeping it open, just for
Okay.
now.
And a question, because these are two lots, how would you record the order, you know, the order of conditions against, do you have to record them against both deeds?
We
Or how
would do that. Yeah, we got the primary lot, and we're doing just a little bit of work right over on this area here,
Yeah,
so.
I mean, because they are linked together, I
Yeah,
mean,
and
with
they're
this.
owned by, they're-
Yeah, but they could, I mean, my concern right now is, I mean, if they're two separate deeded lots, there's, in most of your physical work here that is shown on, lot, what do you call it, lot? Oh, there's no number on it, just says
it's
existing
parcel
lot.
145-2.
Okay, and then the other lot, you know, you end up selling it, you know, and, you really wanna link these two together, so, you know, somehow we should condition it that they are married together, and you can record, if you don't have one deed, if you don't rewrite this to be one deed, record it against both deeds.
Well, that's the last thing we wanna do, because then it would be a new lot, and then.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah, oh, yeah, that's right, so it would be a recording against the two, yeah, you don't wanna do that.
The last thing we wanna do is touch the lot line.
Okay,
So,
Yeah,
what
so we
we'll
can
do is
record it.
we'll make sure this lot gets, the order of condition gets applied to that lot.
both.
For this work, that minor portion of work. we
correct,
put there.
correct, that's good. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments? Yes?
Elaine Stolovich, 37 Everett Ave. I'd like to submit some pictures to you.
Okay.
Of flooding.
Yep, why don't you come right up here?
Joy Buck, thank you, Joy. Whoops, whoops. Here we go. That's the field.
Where are we looking at relative?
This
on
is
the
my
plan?
house, right here.
Okay, where are you on this plan here? This is his proposed
Right. I
house,
have-
and are you on
This
Melvin?
is 38, I'm right here.
Okay, so we're,
So this is my house, right here.
so we're looking right across at,
Yeah, so this, Joy took this picture from Sadler Ave.
yeah,
This is Sadler Ave. It went across Sadler into the playground.
When was this taken?
Well, I put my garage on, I believe, in 2000s, so it's been within the last 20 years. So, and this is because I've been dealing with FEMA. In fact, I came to you guys before when Sid wanted to. So this is my house, okay? So one of my concerns is my property. The thing is, I'm dealing with FEMA. Even though the town said I'm above the high water flood mark at 398.5, FEMA will not remove my house from the floodplain because the town will not sign off on a sheet of paper that says that I will never fill my lower property. So my lower property is Melvin Ave.
Yeah, you own,
I own, you're right, and we maintain
you know,
this.
this is Melvin Ave, that's
Yeah.
not your own, you don't
I
own
know,
that.
I said we maintain it.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
We plant grass there and my shed is over here. So my elevation's here, you're building this up, okay? How is that going to affect the high water level mark with FEMA?
not gonna affect it at all.
Okay, I've heard stories like this before because we have Everett Ave. A man was allowed to build a house on Everett Ave, which was the 100-year flood zone. He built it up 3 feet, built up the road, and the road is a mess, and I get runoff into my lower property now. So we're getting runoff right now down Melvin Ave. When it rains, and it's tarred, so it's following the tar down. So Melvin Ave gets flooded, Melvin Ave on paper, and then that abuts my property. And where that shed is, you can't see my shed, here's my shed. Where my shed is, and this is Melvin Ave going down. So all this, because it's a gully, so you want to build up this property here.
No, we're not building it up.
Well, this is where your corner lot is. This is the corner lot.
I know, but I'm not building it up.
You're not building this up?
Well, he provides where he's
It's got to
actually.
be 10 feet off of Melvin Ave.
Yeah, I know, he's taking away areas that he's filling, he has to compensate for it,
Right.
so he's taking away, so if he's putting a load of fill
Correct,
in, he's taking
it out.
he's
Right,
taking
I
it out,
understand,
so.
volume for volume.
Yes,
I understand
exactly.
that.
So-
And that's gonna be over here.
Well,
Part
there's
of it.
all over, that's one of the
Okay.
areas.
We're gonna lower it here, we're gonna lower it in here, we're gonna lower it over in here, and we're gonna lower it all over in there.
Okay, if you're gonna lower it, as long as it doesn't impact my property. Okay, because as you can see, there's a
Yeah.
lot of water
Do you
there.
have a date on that?
Joy. Well, I put a garage on during the 2000s.
There's something written on the back, is there?
Yeah,
anything?
no, I
Joy just
looked at it.
wrote from Saddle Road.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
This
it
is
is an
Wheelock
established stream
Park.
flood zone. I mean, it's not,
Yeah, it is,
Yeah, I mean,
that's
it's-
what you would expect.
Yeah.
they've even done a study on it, so
It
yeah.
floods,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's in the, it says it.
right. So the
Been
thing
there
is,
since '65, and I haven't seen it flood once.
we'll show you a picture. I've got my.
I just said it, I've seen it flood once.
Rick, okay, but
That's it.
Ricky, I put the garage on when your mom and dad were alive. Mom's been dead how many years?
I've only seen it flood once.
Yeah, well, this is it, we're looking at historic numbers here, it's 100-year floodplain, you know, so you're
It
not,
flooded once, I seen it.
Yeah,
Unless
that's
you're-
far in the 80s.
The firewood was floating.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know it flooded.
Trying to recall this.
yeah.
We've seen it.
All right, hang on, what we're gonna do is, we're continuing this hearing tonight, we'll be back next month.
Okay.
He's gonna do a little fine tuning on his plan,
Engineering
Because
department.
also, I mean,
yeah, and we
according
understand.
to FEMA, what are they saying? Before a local floodplain permit can be issued for proposed development in the floodway, the applicant must provide evidence that no rise will occur or obtain a conditional letter of map revision. So, no
Well,
rise
when it
means
came
no
with my
increase
plans.
in
What's
flood
that?
elevations
When you gave me the
greater than
plans,
zero.
the copy came
Back.
back.
And I'm actually creating more storage.
Oh, but I'll make you aware, the Kingsbrook flows through my property too, which has been my
Oh, I
family
know.
100 years.
Oh, I know.
So, and.
That's the way I have it
comes-
mapped on the property, but
This
I have
brook,
it mapped, right now, I have it mapped as, this is not beyond your property, but
Right.
right to your property. I have the 100-year flood right in through here, and it
Yeah.
comes down, and then it expands, just like the picture shows.
Yeah, just like your thing shows.
now this over here doesn't have riffraff. My land has riffraff, has the big stone. My grandmother went in and let them dredge it because her garden was flooded back in the 50s when the big hurricane came around. Corps of Engineers went in and put the riffraff. Big, big stone, big granite, beautiful. There's nothing over there, it's low. Because Dick Bastigian fell in one time with his tractor.
All right. Okay, let's see if we have any other questions. We got a couple more. Hey, Chuck, you're taking my pen away.
Oh, no, oh, sorry.
Oh, this is.
Thank you.
That's my pen. Up there with a pen.
As long as it doesn't impact
All right,
my
do we have any other?
We actually have 2 lots, and we could make 2 lots, but it's too much. My niece lives in that house. We have to dig out the whole bank, which I could do, but we decided not to do that.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions or comments on this hearing for tonight? It is going to be continued. I don't see any, so we'll see you next month, May 14th.
May 14th.
You got it.
Thank you.
Bob, you lost the last sheet too. Oh, wait, that's a superseded one. That's- All right, a couple more.
Not breaking any records tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, we're old, you know, you get old, you slow down.
Yeah, you're slowing down there.
Yeah. It's
So,
Jason and Martha.
Is this a multiple copy, one of three, one of three? One of
I
three?
think we got
Take that one.
one, three.
One for you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Remember we was talking about there was a law that was lots and stuff like that we go through? I applied for my permit in 1989.
Yeah.
The lots had been in my family, like I said, 100 years, and I wasn't allowed to build on my lower land. I had to do an elevation on my upper land above the brook. That was stipulation, and also was stipulation on the side of the house. And that was, I believe it was Mr. Connor who did that. So,
That's interesting.
it is interesting, because I'm listening to these people that say it's their legal right, and yet the town back in those days said, you can't do it. I wanted to put a garage in my lower land, and the town said,
What year was that? Do you remember?
well, it was around the time I put the garage up here.
Yeah, but what year? Give me a year, I don't know when that.
2000, Joy said
Oh, is that-
2010?
Oh, okay, it's relatively recent.
I mean, things keep on changing, but I keep, the more meetings I come to, the more I learn things that I could have done.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. We'll see you next month. All right.
Is this the same plan?
You have the,
Yeah, I think they're the same plan.
who's got the notice there?
Oh, wait a minute, where's the notice? Here's the notice.
Yeah, we're gonna do both.
This is an RDA, right? Huh?
Yeah, they're both the same, essentially the
Yeah.
same project.
There's-
We do them concurrently if that's a bit more efficient.
Okay, we have a new notice of meeting. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that the Hartford Realty Trust of Shrewsbury, 291 Grafton Street, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the installation of approximately 900 feet of public sewer pipe at 733, 757, and 801 Ard Boston Turnpike, 18, 24, and 30 Fruit Street, Floral Street, Fruit Street, Whippoorwill Drive, Bumblebee Circle, and Honeysuckle Lane. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Wayne Bellick, WDA Design Group, here on behalf of Hartford Realty Trust of Shrewsbury. Thanks for having us. As you can see, I'm flying solo tonight. Usually I'm accompanied by either Rod or Franzaretti on the project. Let me give you a little overview of what this is. The commission may recall a couple of years ago, you folks had issued orders of conditions for number 440 and 526 Hartford Turnpike as part of the comprehensive permit project. As the commission is probably also aware, as part of the conditions from the comprehensive permit issued by the ZBA, they required specifically under Section H of the conditions that improvements be made to the town sewer infrastructure and the water infrastructure. So this addresses the sewer infrastructure. We knew that as we were going to proceed with this, it would require a sort of filing with the Concom. We had met with the town staff over several meetings, the DPW, engineering, and Brad, initially when we were looking at this. We looked at it and considered a simple courtesy letter to the commission as discussed with Brad, but in a more recent meeting with Andy and Jeff and Brad, it was decided that we file an RDA, as this work is actually to the town infrastructure, and the applicant is looking to make the improvements on their dime. So, again, it is exempt from the WPA, Section 1002, 2A, or A2, which discusses work on public infrastructure, and as the Commission's aware, since 2014, Sewer is now exempt from the filing of a notice of intent. So that's why we had gone ahead and filed the request for determination. As part of the work, there were some sections of the infrastructure identified by the town's peer review consultant, Weston and Sampson, that were deficient as a result of the proposed work. So I'd like to go through those sections and discuss what we are proposing. So the work, so these are the two sites. You can see this in purple here. The sewer goes through the Hills Farm development down behind us. Gets pumped up from the Quail Run pump station up to the Stony Hill pump station, and then again up to the Cherry Street pump station where it flows gravity down across Route 9 in here, and then continues past Price Chopper, and it goes through the easement behind Price Chopper, behind the houses on Fruit Street, and eventually out to Floral Street and Whipple. The commission may recall, I think it was like last year, at about this time last year, the work was wrapped up. Down in front of Price Chopper, there was a crossing occurring right at South Street, Price Chopper. That was part of this project, not within the commission's jurisdiction, but it was part of the project of the sewer infrastructure where we put in a forced main, continue the forced main across Route 9 in that area. It's part of this work. So with that said, what I've done for the purposes of this presentation, bless you, is I've highlighted the area in green that's shown on the plans provided to the commission in the application packet. So the Price Chopper site is in here, South Street, Route 9. And the work begins about 800 feet in at this location in here. This represents a 100-foot buffer zone. This area in here represents BVW, which continues. This is sheet 1 of 7 of your plan set. On 2 of 7, it continues again. This is the BVW from the first sheet. This is the other side of that BVW. So this entire area in here is BVW. This again represents the 100-foot buffer zone. There's another section of the BVW here. A finger portion of the BVW comes up into this area to a bulb BVW in this location here. So basically what we're looking to do is as I stated in the cover letter, the infrastructure is fairly aged. It's a AC pipe, and it goes through sections, like I said, through here in the wetland, through here in this small area, and through here. But again, it's an aged system, so one of the things that we did consider doing is removing the pipe and then installing the new pipe, which is going to be an upgraded size. So I believe this is 10-inch in here. We're going to upgrade that to a 12-inch PVC in that area. And rather than, and we discussed this with the town, rather than remove that pipe, we decided that we would keep that line live through this area and build a new sewer 5 feet off. The cuts in this area are going to be about 5 to 6 feet down. So what we would anticipate is a smaller track machine in this area. So it would be about 5 feet off. We'd pick it up from this manhole here, run it parallel through here, as you can see in the yellow line, and then tie back in down in this location here. That line would remain live until the time we connect. So it would be almost like a quick connect. At that point, it would be, we'd have a bypass which would go from the previous manhole to the point of connection and discharge into the next manhole. And that would run above ground to the next manhole. All the work, basically the approach would be, we will put down some construction mats through the resource area. I did indicate in the application that there would be some temporary alteration, as I called out on the plans. That alteration would be basically for the placement of the mats. It's going to straddle the proposed trench, which is going to be, maybe 4 or 5 feet wide. It would straddle it on each side, and what the contractor would do is provide an area where he's going to cast his material. He's going to propose a tarp for that side, place the material on the tarp, and then when he's ready to backfill that trench, take that material, place it back into the hole, and then take the surface material that he has removed and place that. So basically what he has is for any wetland vegetation through this area that he's going to be altering, he's going to be picking that up, scooping it up, and placing it on the tarp, and then continuing through. He's going to do sections at a time, so whenever he is through, and we would expect that, we haven't discussed the logistics, but it would be anticipated that he would begin at this point and work his way back out, so that once he's done with this work here, he would go ahead, place the material back in there, and likewise do the same thing, so he wouldn't have to go back through a second time. So that would be that first section where there would be some temporary alteration to the wetland. He would then,
Can I just,
Sure.
quickly, how large would you said he was do sections, how big of a section at a time?
he told me he'd do about 100 feet a day. Ken, does that sound about right? 5-foot cut, about maybe 100 feet a day?
Yep.
So, he'd be doing about 100 feet a day.
Thanks.
So it would probably, as it says in the application, about 900 feet. So you're probably talking a good couple weeks. As part of that, because it is in a wetland system, we do anticipate some encountering groundwater, so he's going to have to dewater. Typically, when we would do that, there would be an area to discharge the groundwater, so he would pump that out of the buffer zone. And, typically the way we've seen it done is a hay bale surround with plywood, or some folks use bins with a filter fabric on the inside. They discharge into the bin, and then it filters through the fabric again out of the buffer zone, so it comes through fairly clean. So that would be the approach that we would take here. I've seen this type of work done before, and again, it's temporary alteration within, so if he does this, we would propose this in the summer, obviously when it's drier, although with today's weather, there's no telling when it's going to be dry. But we would anticipate that during the summertime would be the drier months as it historically is, and that's when he would look to do his work. What we have found is after a couple months, and certainly by the next season, you'd never know that anybody had been through there. I think from a sewer perspective, in terms of the DPW, it's a good thing because he's gonna have to go through there. There will be some tree removal in the easement. However, where we're working in the wetland area, the only tree removal that will occur is if it's within the footprint of the 5-foot trench we're going through. Anything he has to cut down to go through there, he would leave the stumps within the resource areas. Once he's through with this area, he would look to regroup. So this section is up in this area here, which would be behind the lots along Fruit Street and Floral Street. So Floral and Fruit, where there would be same program. It would be about 5 foot off for the proposed sewer. It would be on the down gradient side. It was discussed with the engineering department as the preferred location. It would be on the down gradient side and then continue with a series of manholes where we would pick it up here, through this area here, and connect back into the manhole in Floral Street. What we found in this area, unlike the other area, where we have like a 5 or 6 foot cut, we'd be able to use a smaller machine. This area has got a couple beefy cuts. This one, for instance, is a 17-footer. So that's going to be significant. The only saving grace is this particular one is the easement goes through someone's lawn. So it is in the lawn area of someone's house. We did find that there are a couple areas where there are sheds located within the easement. So those would have to be temporarily removed out of the easement so the work can be performed and then they would be placed. So again, we're figuring about 2 weeks worth of work. All the work would occur up gradient of wattles and silt fence. And again, that's pretty much the program. Any questions?
I asked mine.
Jason?
No, I'm all set.
Bob?
Well, I'm just wondering, why don't we the notice of intent?
Because it's exempt under the regulations for public utilities, these are public utilities. So as of 2014, I sit on the Board of Sewer Commissions in my town, used to sit on Concom. And it was very frustrating as a member of the Board of Sewer Commissioners, anytime when we did sewer work, we didn't have the exemption that water, drainage, and other transmission utilities had. So back in 2014, DEP made provisions to allow for sewer as a utility to have that same exemption as the other.
Well, then why are you looking for an RDA?
I'm sorry? That was as suggested
Yeah,
by-
engineering recommended, because originally we were just gonna write a letter, but we figured, given the history of the
Because you wanted
project,
the details of the,
Yeah.
we just wanted on record that, we went through the process, because there is a history to the project. We wanna make sure that, well, everyone knows what we're doing.
you've reviewed these.
Yeah, actually, they're actually being, one of another part of the condition of the 40B was that it has to actually be reviewed by Weston and Sampson, so they're actually doing a review for us right now. But it is literally, verbatim replacement, so it really should be no major issues, but it is being reviewed by peer review.
So would it be timely to approve this now before you hear from Weston and Sampson?
Yeah, because it's just an RDA anyway, yeah, I don't expect any substantive changes on the sewer design.
So basically, our plan design is at the recommendations of Weston and Sampson. They basically said these are the slopes that we need to meet these requirements, and that's what we've done. They spec the pipe type, the pipe diameter. Basically, we're just providing the work, working plans.
In all the pipe, Wayne, you're abandoning all the existing old pipe in place?
Yes.
So
Yep.
there's no further digging in the standards?
That's correct.
And it's asbestos cement pipe too,
Yep.
so it's another way to
Yeah.
not deal with that.
Yep, exactly.
Unfortunately, otherwise we could have pipe burst it, but we can't.
Ken,
All set?
anything else, Ian?
No, it's, we've been dealing with them.
All right, anyone out there have any questions or comments? I don't see any. Are we ready to take a vote on this one, Bob?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we give determination of the petition.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right. Now you have the water one, right, Wayne?
I do.
All right, we gotta read the notice. What was the reason for the breakout, just in case one required filing? You had to,
Yes, well, they're kind of two different projects.
okay,
So I wanted to handle it that way. They're in two separate locations, so we figured it'd be
okay.
that way.
All right, let me read the notice, and we'll go on from there. We have a new notice of meeting. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Hartford Realty Trust of Shrewsbury, 291 Grafton Street, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for town of Shrewsbury water infrastructure work within Hartford Turnpike from 440 Hartford Turnpike to 660 Hartford Turnpike. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, April 16th, in the Selectmen's meeting room.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We just rolled them off, forget it.
I may have to recuse myself on this one.
Okay, Ken, no problem. Okay, Ken Polito's gonna recuse himself from this hearing. Go ahead, Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, this one again was a condition of, condition H in the comprehensive permit for the replacement of 3,300 feet of water main that runs from the easterly corner of number 440, just basically in front of Yellow Freight, continuing easterly out just to about the intersection of Centec Boulevard, Cherry Street, and Route 20. Again, 3,300 feet out in front of Yellow Freight, as you see on your plans. The water does break across the road. So basically, here is number 440, the site that you folks issued a order of conditions on a couple of years ago. The beginning of the work is here in front of Yellow Freight. It continues easterly on the south side of Route 20. It then continues, if you look to the viewport down below, it then continues, this is out to this point here where it makes a crossing across Route 20 and then continues on the north side. Number 526 Hartford Turnpike is located here, the site that you folks issued an order of condition on. And I would say about maybe 15 years ago, or 10 years ago, and then about 15 years ago, the commission may recall I was before you with the Liberty Church notices, and you issued orders on those. That site is located here. Here's the access drive into the church. So the water main for replacement within the buffer zone, these wetland resource areas were delineated and confirmed by the Concom in those NOI filings, as well as this puppy in here. The buffer zones associated with that, again, are located in red in here, so the work within your jurisdiction is pretty much in this area here. It then continues easterly along the north side of Route 20, again, up through here, continuing past Stony Hill Road, continuing over to, so Rod St. Pierre owns a couple properties on the southerly side of Route 20, just west of the Candy Mansion. Those two properties, the first one begins here, and the second one ends in this location here. This is the Hebert Candy Mansion, right here. The water main continues through here. This is work within your jurisdiction, out of your jurisdiction, back into your jurisdiction, Cherry Street, Centec Boulevard, and this is where the work terminates. All the work would be done, again, up gradient of straw wattles and silt fence, and we will look to coordinate that with the property owners along that road. So the way that's going to work is there's an existing 12-inch AC pipe. That AC pipe years ago had a liner put in it. It was a polyethylene or PVC type liner, and apparently we understand that from the town there. There are some residuals coming off that liner, so they're looking to have that replaced, which was again conditioned in the decision. There's a lot of spaghetti out there in terms of utilities. So we had spoken with the town, and it was the same thing, you know, it's much easier to, rather than remove the existing pipe, leave it in place, abandon it, and then put in the new 12-inch double cement line ductile iron within a couple feet of it, and that's what is being proposed here. During that time, a temporary bypass will be set up before the work begins, from just prior to the beginning of the work to the end of the work, connecting all the facilities along the route with fire suppression and potable water. And then it will be at that time that water will be turned on, providing those facilities with their water, and this will be shut down and filled with a slurry. And then we will proceed with the installation of the ductile iron water. That is basically it. We do have one crossing that we are proposing, and the intent there is to minimize the impacts on Route 20, because we know how wonderful a road that can be at certain times of the day. We're looking to, in this area here, pipe burst. So we have a couple of pits that would be opened up to either side, and they would look to pipe burst that and then feed the new pipe through it and then pull it through. Feed it through on one side, push, and then pull. And that would pretty much be it. We have met with engineering last week regarding our MassDOT pre-submission. Had sat down with them and are making a couple tweaks to the plans as a result of that. And we have a meeting, a pre-submission meeting with MassDOT on Friday. So we are coordinating with MassDOT, so once we're through with Concom, we're going to go ahead, file with MassDOT. And again, like the sewer work, we're planning on having this work occur this summer. Any questions?
Martha?
So you have to explain pipe burst.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. What they do is they leave the existing pipe in place, and the reason we're doing that is not to have to excavate through Route 20. I haven't seen it done, but what they do is they take it's a directional drill, So basically, it's just like a drill, they have it go horizontally, they drill through, and they just eat away at that pipe that's underground. And then they take the other pipe, they basically create a cavity, open up a cavity, they take that other pipe, they push it through on one end, and they have it attached to the other end, and as they're pushing, they pull it through. So the new pipe sits inside the remains of the old wall, the old one on the walls. Pretty neat.
Thank you.
No.
Anything else?
Nope.
No. Jason?
I'm all set.
Bob? Andy?
No, I'd say we've been meeting again on this one, so it's.
Anyone in the public? Any questions or comments? I don't see any, so Bob?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we issue a negative determination with respect to this petition.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, folks, much appreciated.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our meetings and hearings, and we're on to new and old business. So,
Take care of this lady.
do you want to, before we go into that, do you want to say anything tonight?
Well, that's 784 Grafton Street,
For the enforcement,
right.
there's another problem, right?
Well, I talked to Brad, he was supposed to go out there on Friday, and I don't know if he was walking the wetlands, because
Yep.
I noticed they put up more flagging.
Okay.
And I spoke with him, and I said, I don't think the flagging was right.
Yep.
Because that shed sits in the wetlands. And I didn't see the flagging there, but I said, well, we'll wait, I don't know if there's a map set yet, or if they've done anything with
Yep.
that. He said he couldn't attend the Friday meeting. I'm not sure why, he had to.
Brad's been out for a while, yeah.
Yeah, so he couldn't attend. But just the other day, and I emailed him, they have been building some sort of a brick walkway with a brick structure
Okay.
in the area right by the shed where they weren't supposed, that's within the buffer, it's within
Yep.
the wetlands. I don't understand why they've done that. And they were already told not to do any more building. As far as the cleanup in that wetlands area, in that buffer zone, when they were supposed to clean it up a few times, the snow, the this and that, there's plenty of tires still there, tires from cars. There's also some big drums still there. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's never been removed, but yet they're building a brick walkway with a brick structure.
Yeah, Brad, I spoke to Brad today, he did tell me about the walkway, and we'll have someone from engineering go out and take a look, and we'll see if we can take another step. Who was the engineer he was working with on the flagging?
Ecotech, oh, the flagging you mean?
Yeah.
That was Ecotech?
Ecotech, it was
Right.
Ecotech, correct, yeah.
I don't think it was correct, because when yeah, we need to see a map.
Yeah, I think it was a Scott Jordan, it might have been Scott Jordan.
Okay,
over there.
I'll coordinate.
Yeah, we'll,
Get out there and take a
we'll
look.
contact, probably through Ecotech, call Ecotech, and then meet them out there and follow up on that. But it's still an active enforcement thing, so
And
it's,
when will they be ordered to remove that shed? Because that shed, you can see.
well, we had to resolve the flagging issue too, because remember the fact we went into winter and the flagging sort of ceased. Now that that's done, we'll have to decide whether it comes out and take it the next step. That should be coming soon, now that the flagging is, you said you noticed more flags out there.
Right, there were more flags
Yeah,
out
so
there.
Brad would have to confirm that, it's accurate, and then bring it back to the commission, and if the shed is in it, we will order it to be removed.
And when do you anticipate, if there's some sort of filing, or what they're gonna do with that, or what was, they were supposed to put some sort of filing together? I haven't heard any more on that either. I don't know if that's.
Because, well, he kept on saying he had plans remember, he had plans for the lot, and we said, well, you don't do anything without making a filing, without a filing. But right now, we're just dealing with the enforcement issue that
Okay.
probably is in a wetland area,
Yeah,
and we'll have to take it one step at a time, but it's on the agenda almost every month now, so.
right, because the problem is, I haven't seen that neighbor here.
I know.
For a long time now. And I find that it's very upsetting, and it's very discouraging to see a property that I grew up in that had apple orchards in back, they had trotters in front, the properties were well-maintained. You look at that property today, within less than a year, has been destroyed. Those wetlands, he has taken and he's put a patio around that house. The dirt, to put that patio in, he's thrown in those wetlands. And when you asked about filling in,
okay, really? I mean, let's just be honest right here and now, because I'm very discouraged with this. And I find all of his behavior very disingenuous with the excuses, he couldn't make it, he has to work, I find it all very, very disingenuous. I find that they're well aware of what they're doing, especially when I saw that brick patio with that structure go in.
Well, he shouldn't
They
be,
were told to
yeah,
cease and
he shouldn't, he
desist.
shouldn't be doing it, especially
Right.
if it is within the flagging, so.
Where does that little stream and those wetlands go? Where do all the different species of the cat and nine-tail, the milkweed, the frogs, where does it all go?
Yeah.
Well, he's destroying it, making it literally a dump.
Yep.
And then you look at the rest of the neighborhood and the neighbors all complaining, and a lot of those properties are nice and they're being fixed up.
Yeah.
And then you've got this, because I want a shed in some sort of a building. I mean, the whole thing,
Yeah,
it
we're,
makes
well,
no
we're, you know,
sense.
when this came last fall, we're now past winter, we're into the,
Right.
we're into the good weather. We're gonna push this to a conclusion, so we'll go out there and take a look at this walkway now to just make sure that he's just not doing more than,
Right, because
should
it's just,
be.
it's just, you grow up
I
there, you
know.
look at it, and
We
you say,
hear ya.
what?
well, I know.
All right. Well, I
Okay, thank you.
appreciate that. All right, thank you.
Yep. All right, Bob, orders of conditions, are we ready
I
to?
move that we issue a order of conditions for the construction of a single-family residence addition, utility stone walls at 29 Flag Road.
29 Flag, did we skip the first one, Bob? We got one
Oh,
on
yeah,
250.
That was the second one, yeah. That was 1824.
Yep, so we got 250 South, right? Is that the one?
Yeah, that was
I made a motion on
So-
1824.
On 18, okay, so you want to, okay. Bob's made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on that one? That was pretty clean, right? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Further move that we issue a order of conditions to Anacelio Gomes for the construction of a house addition and swimming pool at 250 South Quinsigamon Avenue.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Other than maybe the Bluestone, Ken, did you want to put something in there, make a commit it to non-porous type of,
That was fine. My concern was the dock, but he said he was just gonna come to the,
yeah.
I would put a condition in there about the dock, saying that he has to go to the, commission to get a permit.
And Bob, what do you think on the
Well,
ground cover?
it's in the record that he specified that, but if you want to put a condition, that's fine too.
Okay.
That
That'd be a bluestone in a non-mortar
Yeah, that's good.
stone dust bed.
All right.
Okay.
First one we did.
So we've had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And, Mr. Chairman, I move that we issue an order of conditions to Rashid Shaikh for the construction of a single-family house addition and associated site work at 24 Sherrill Drive, with an added condition that the erosion control specified in the plan be extended 30 feet in each direction.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? I think Bob's covered it. All in favor?
Aye.
That's it on the motion.
All right, and we can, Brad said we can sign the two certificates of compliance. One is 93 South Quinsigamon Avenue, and the other one is 15 Holando Drive. They're good to go.
And what about,
The extension also, Ken, we can.
Extension,
Yeah,
okay.
Brad, he said the extension was good to do.
Do you need a motion for that?
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Move that we grant an extension of the permit for 29R Rockwell Drive.
second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This one, it's the extension, right, bud? Yeah, last one.
Do we have any other further discussion on these other
The enforcement, no, Brad said,
Give me talk to Brad now.
no, the only one Brad mentioned was 784 Grafton Street, so, the other two, there's been,
carrying
nothing, carrying forward.
All right.
All right, so we've done the extension, we've done that. It looks like we're, almost, Martha's still signing.
Make a motion, we
Wait.
adjourn?
Wait, oh,
Oh, we weren't ready for that?
Martha's still working. All set? It's everything? Okay. Here it is, it's all done. Go ahead, Ken.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.